Hello, good evening, good evening. I'm going to explain how to read an astrology birth chart. This was created with a completely random day, time, and location for the birth data. Any similarities to anybody living or dead is purely coincidental. So I'm not going to go through how to interpret everything in this video because that is a big topic that you can find all kinds of resources for and all kinds of explanations for whatever topic you want to dive further into. But I know a lot of people don't understand what to do with this this whole chart. So that's what I'm going to explain today. The easy part here is all the way around the side. I'm sure most people recognize these symbols as each of the zodiac signs, and you'll see within these are the symbols for the planets. Now, you're probably familiar with a lot of these as well. On the right side of the screen here, I have this little key so that you can see, like, this is the sun, this means moon, and so on and so forth. Now, where the symbols are notates where or what sign they're in, rather. So this whole area here, this is all Taurus. This is a sign of Taurus. Anything that falls within these boundaries is a planet in Taurus. So here we have the sun in Taurus. This person's Mars is also in Taurus, as well as their Mercury, just barely in there. These are the degrees that the planets fall in as well. The degrees are very important when interpreting a birth chart. But again, you can go check out some resources about degrees. I won't be delving into that in this particular video. And from there, when we go inward, we have the houses. This is the stuff that people don't always understand immediately. So the houses are really important for the planets. 12 different people can have a Mars in Taurus, but it could be in each of the 12 different houses for each person. So that changes in what way their Mars in Taurus affects them. Again, you can find lots and lots of resources about what the houses represent, but I'll go through how you can determine what they are really quickly. So the numbers here determines the house. So your first house, 1, is in Cancer here. The house is always ruled by the sign it begins in. So we go 1 and then the line that comes right before it there, that's where the house begins. So it begins at 26 degrees 59 seconds in Cancer. Your first house ruler is always going to be your ascendant or rising sign. The first house represents the self, how we are perceived and how we view ourselves and how others view us. And then the second house here begins in Leo, and you'll see they always go in order. So you guys probably, you might be familiar with the order of the zodiac being, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. That's always the chronological order of the signs. That's always the order they will be in the birth chart. It's just a matter of where the ascendant falls being where the houses begin, where it all gets set in motion. So if your first house is in Cancer, in many cases, not always, in many cases though, the second house is in Leo. And then we move along. The third house is ruled by Virgo, but you'll see this is where the charts really matter and the exact time of birth matters. So this is the North Node. This is North Node in Virgo because it falls in Virgo here, but you'll see it falls within the bounds of the second house. So even though the second house is ruled by Leo, the North Node still falls within the second house, even though it is in Virgo. So that's something to take note of. You can have a sign, or rather a planet or an asteroid in a certain sign that falls in the previous house, or that falls in the house ruled by the previous sign, rather. So then we keep going. We get to the fourth house that is ruled by Libra. The fourth house is also known as the IC. It is the opposite of the MC or the midheaven, as well as the DC being the opposite of the AC, ascendant, descendant. So the seventh house is always the descendant. Again, the seventh house here, this begins in Capricorn. So the moon is in Capricorn and falls in the sixth house, but the sixth house is ruled by Sagittarius. The seventh house is ruled by Capricorn. From there, we look at these different lines. Now, these lines represent the aspects. Blue lines in general mean positive, harmonious aspects. Red lines mean more challenging aspects. These, I believe, on squares. This is a sextile, I think. You can have trines as well. The sun here is trining Neptune, sorry. But again, you can learn all about those different aspects. And they'll usually also be a little, I cut it off here, but there's usually a little key that helps you see what all of the different aspects actually are. So that is how you read a birth chart. You can take this chart here and then write down everything as a list and go from there. Say, okay, I have my moon in Capricorn in the sixth house. What does it mean when your moon is in your sixth house? What does it mean when you have a Capricorn moon? How does that apply to Capricorn moon in the sixth house? That's one very unique look at your own emotions. And again, the moon being in the 10th degree of Capricorn means something different than being in the 11th degree. So there's so many things you can look into, a very deep dive to do with interpreting the birth chart, but reading it and pulling the basic information out of it is actually a lot simpler than it seems. So I hope this was helpful. Hope this made sense. Please let me know if you have any other questions.